Please start meditation.
Vanam, Daaji. My question is, can a man be forgiven for his sins if he really wishes to change?
Before I answer this question of forgiveness of a sin, we have to understand what is sin. Traditionally, people think sin means stealing, perhaps, taking advantage of someone, rather undue advantage of someone, or something to do with morality on the basis of sex. All this depends upon cultural background also. There are many definitions of sin. One, according to Jewish tradition, which I like the most, that definition, when you are distracted or deviated by any action or thought that takes you away from godly thought or godly connection. So, any deviation from divinity, from our minds and heart, it's sinful. Lalaji says, any moment that is passed without the remembrance of God or your Guru should be regretted upon. Babuji puts it very nicely. Whatsoever has happened in the past, please don't dwell on it so much. It has happened. You can do nothing about it now. There is only two types of baggage it leaves behind. One is at a memory level, another is at an emotional level. Emotionally, one gets affected by what one has done, and it remains in your memory for a very long time. Often, because of the cleaning with our system, the emotional baggage is removed. But we do still carry on with the memory. So, we pray to Master. This is the only way of getting out of these clutches of guilt arising out of so-called sin. And that is, my Lord, please forgive me. I will not repeat this again. That's all we can do. And we should not dwell so much. People, once one Abhyasi came and fell at the feet of Dr. Vardacharya of Tirupati. He was one of the senior-most preceptors of those days, and Babuji Maharaj loved him a lot. This person who came fell at Dr. Vardacharya's feet and said, "Sir, please forgive me, I have sinned." Then wise words of Dr. K.C. Vardacharya were then, I'm not able to quote the exactly, but it goes something like this. What sin can you commit? A bottle of booze or sex? Who has not committed this? When you commit your own original sin, then you come to me. Okay? So that was the generosity of the heart, or generosity of principles of Sahaj Marg. Whatsoever may have happened, drop it. Drop it from your mind altogether. You can do nothing about it. There should be course correction. When we deviate, there is a need for a course correction. But after deviating, if you keep worrying about, then you'll remain stagnated. You will be trapped in that whirlpool of sins. It will not let you come out of that whirlpool of guilt. Guilt, for whatever be the reason, is the worst kind of grossness we can accumulate. It's also very difficult for the gods or the master to remove the impressions created by guilt of any sort. Something I should have done and I could not do also creates guilt in our heart. But unfortunately, nobody considers that as a sin. Often, such impression, such memory of such impression lasts very, very long time. Something that you have not done and yet it haunts you. For example, you could have done very well in your studies. I could have studied very well when I had time. And now you see my results. It's because of the inaction. And you feel terrible about it, see? And it haunts you all your life. Something I could have done, as I often say, serving your parents. You have time to serve, you have energy to serve. But unfortunately, despite of this, when we are not able to serve them, and after some time they pass on, you feel terrible. I had a chance to serve my parents who brought me in this world. I could have made them happier with my services, but I could not. Such inactions, they haunt us all our life. And can we consider them as sinful? Let's not go into that. So the wiser person says and thinks, let me do what I can do now. Youth should remember one thing. Don't go on postponing things. Even saying your girlfriend or a boyfriend, I love you, don't delay it. Such acknowledgement or absence of such acknowledgement, you may have to pay a big price. In worst scenario, what the other person will say, I don't like you. But you have concluded the story. It will not haunt you afterward. You will not say, I could have said it and I missed out. So finish your business. Don't leave anything incomplete.
Pranam Daaji.
Pranamsti.
My question is, how can we distinguish between the guidance from the heart and the interventions of the mind when we have to take an important decision in a very short span of time?
Like what?
Any kind of decision like about career or anything that is important?
As far as career is concerned, we have to be very practical. Often we get carried away by emotions and we think it is the heart. Some youngsters come up and they say, oh, I want to be the photographer. Some very young people, very, very young in 6th grade or 7th grade, they say, I want to become the policeman. My grandson pretends these days as if he is Arjun and he wants to become an archer. Our ideas of what to become keeps changing. At the age of 4, you are adamant about certain sweets, certain chocolates, certain foods. Also, the negative things also are very dominant at that time. And as we grow unregulated into our teenage time, we become more and more adamant about our likes and dislikes. It becomes stronger and stronger. And with our dislikes and likes, our ego also adds fuel to the fire. One girl, sometime in 1984 or 85, European girl, she came from Europe to New York City to learn music. And she was doing masters in the music, especially the flute. So I told her, don't waste your time. Music is very dear to our heart, no doubt. But you should make certain decisions in such a way that you can lead a stable life. Stable life means not to depend on somebody else for your personal needs. And you must have seen in movies perhaps, youngsters playing guitar or some, percussion or violin with their cap on the floor on a train station or a bus station. People keep throwing money in their cap. And that's what she ended up becoming when she turned 50 plus. Because she is still an abhyasi and a preceptor. Very miserable life. So sometimes our heart says, do this, but you have to really make sure, is it my emotion? That is also a part of the heart. Not that everything that heart says is right, because heart has a very many depths and heights of it. Superficially, you see someone and you say, wow, he's such a gorgeous fellow. And you're attracted. But when you deeply reflect in your heart, then the answer comes, no, this is not right. So now it's the same heart speaking from the superficial level versus the depth of your heart. So before jumping into critical decisions in life, one has to wait. When you say how to make decisions quickly, vital decisions, don't rush into it. Certain things, should I watch this movie or not watch this movie? Let's not waste our time. Finish it with. At least read the review and say, is it going to help me become a better person? Or just because you're going with friends, it's okay. Watch the movie, but envelope yourself with constant remembrance of the Master. Okay. Now, one child came to me, someone like you in 12th grade, says, what should I become? So what choices do you have? And give me some number one choice without which you cannot exist in your life. So they wrote down one. Suppose you don't have this, what is the next best profession you would like to pursue? That they put that. So they put 5 like that. The child put 5 choices. Then I said, remove one by one the things you can live without. And what is left, you carry on with that. So sometimes we have to use logic also. The best situation is when the mind and heart both are in sync. Heart says something and mind also agrees with it. Or mind says something and heart is also happy with that decision. That's a win-win situation. Unfortunately, we are passing through such times which are, I think these times have always been challenging for any generations, whether they were the times of Lord Krishna or Lord Rama or the current times. The conflicts at individual level will always be there. I think we don't have so many conflicts as they had in their times. People think they had good times, but I feel they had the worst time in many ways. Mahabharata and Ramayana, they don't talk about how they cultivated their land or how they used to take bath or go to toilet. We have so much of luxury today, they never had such a luxury. Even the best of kings didn't have such a luxury. Kings used to have servants who used to fan them. But now we don't need all that. Switch on the fan. You can create air condition wherever you are, heat or cold. We are perhaps in the material world the luckiest one. And imagine the time we save by not doing other things they were doing for their survival. If we can utilize the difference in time and put it into spiritual investment, we can do magical things. My preceptor, Sri Rajgopalanji of Ahmedabad, unfortunately, he is no more. He had written one article. Rather, he used to write many articles. One of them or two of them I'll quote you in brief. One, he said, in banks, we invest some money, what we call 1 lakh rupee capital or 10 lakhs rupee capital, and earn the interest of 6% maybe or 7%. But then he says in spirituality, you invest your interest and earn the capital, the source of the capital. So just investing interest brings down the capital into your life. And that can happen on spirituality, in spiritual life. So adopt that. And when we do follow the spiritual life, automatically the decisions that you will make will be more or less in tune for your welfare. You may not see where it will take you, but leading a spiritual life makes your heart very sensitive. You won't have any question arising. Sometimes we make a decision out of choicelessness. Don't let that take over you. Or helplessness. Don't succumb to that helplessness. Often parents blackmail you and will force you to marry someone. Don't do that. Sometimes it may be very good. Rather, majority of time they may be right. And if your heart says no, don't go with it just to fulfill their happiness. It is not being disrespectful. Because later on when you are unhappy, they will also be unhappy. You are doing them a favor. Another article that all youth should remember, and rather everyone, it was a beautiful article and I cherish a lot. He differentiated In industry especially, there are workers who work normal hours, 8 hours a day, but some workers will be working 4 hours a day or 3 hours a day. We call them part-timers. Then there are full-timers, mean full hours, 8 hours a day. And there are guys who would work overtime, means working more than 8 hours a day. And they get rewarded 1.5 times or sometimes double. But more than money, the enthusiastic workers are in the eyes, favorable eyes of the supervisors and also of the boss. But part-timers, as far as supervisors and owners are concerned of the industry, no one cares. They come and go. Part-timers, they don't make much. Bosses don't care much also. Now, when you apply these principles of part-timers, full-timers, and overtimers in spiritual life, we have only 3 things to do, no? Morning meditation, evening cleaning, night bedtime prayer. 3 things. Part-timers, what do? They'll skip 1 or 2 or all 3 also sometimes. Can any industry survive today with even 5% loss or even 2% loss every year? They'll have to close it down eventually. And we is keeping 33% loss on a daily basis. Imagine your spiritual trajectory, the treasure for which we came down on earth. We call it treasure hunting, no? We are also aliens invading this planet. We came to collect some treasure, spiritual treasure. But in the process, we forget that we came for this and we get distracted. So we have to really make sure that at least don't incur such losses. We have to become overtimers, meaning it should become not just 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours. It must become 24-hour business. Absorbed in the divine charge or absorbed in the remembrance of the Master. And doing all that we have to do. While studying, you can remain meditative and study. While partaking meals, same thing. While playing football or cricket, also you can envelop yourself in the remembrance of the Master. Carry that spiritual condition with you wherever you go. And once we lead or train or cultivate ourselves in that way, then the whatsoever decisions we make will always be right. Because now your decisions are not based on your ego or not based on your fancy desires, but based on what is good for you. Then you won't be able to say it is from the heart or from the mind. Your entire body and all your ethereal body will speak to you and say, I must do this. So thank you guys.